Ashutosh.
Yes, sir.
My sister is trying to look at it through YouTube. YouTube में नहीं आ रहा है, लाइव ऐसा आ रहा है.
हाँ, योगास्थ क्लब के YouTube लिंक पर आना चाहिए. अभी तो चालू नहीं हुआ ना.
Yes, sir. Yes,
चालू
sir.
नहीं. अच्छा, जब चालू होगा उस समय आएगा.
हाँ.
Sir, we actually started the live on YouTube.
So it should be available on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
Okay. ಅದು ಚಾಲು ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ YouTube ನಲ್ಲಿ.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's 5 p.m. So we'll just begin in a moment.
Zoom meeting and download for it. Zoom meeting. And download for Windows Zoom.
My
name is Anish Deshpande. I am a member of the Yogastha Club of IIT Bombay, and I welcome all of you here wholeheartedly to the session that we have on the science of self-management and lessons through yogic knowledge. So I hope that all of you have had a wonderful weekend, and I hope that all of you are looking forward to this session. And here we're going to be talking about the practices, the principles of yoga in their true spirit, how they're applied to our daily lives, and more insightful discussions, interesting discussions, and what we can gain from all of these practices. So usually we have different kinds of sessions. Sometimes we talk about research in yoga. We talk about the different practices we do, the physical parts, Ashtanga yoga, the different limbs and branches. All of these different things are leading towards the same holistic goal of self-improvement, of realization, of yoga, of joining. And today we have a very wonderful session for all of you. So let me give a quick introduction about our esteemed speaker for this evening. So our guest tonight is Professor Ramkrishna Hosur. He is an Indian biophysical scientist known for his expertise in nuclear magnetic resonance, molecular biophysics, and structural biology. He has had a successful career in the TIFR, and he has been honored with the Padma Shri by the Government of India in 2014. Sir is also a distinguished alumnus of IIT Bombay and a current visiting professor in the Department of Biosciences and Bioengineering at IIT. And overall, Sir is someone from whom we all have a lot to learn, a lot to gain. And I really hope that we can all enjoy this session. And without further ado, I will hand over the mic to Sir, and we can begin today's session. I hope all of you enjoy. And yes, have a great time. And once again, welcome everyone.
Anish Deshpande.
Thank you, Anish Deshpande. My screen is gone. What happened?
Anish Deshpande.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. We can all hear you.
Yes, okay.
Yes, sir. Listening to you eagerly.
Okay, thank you, Anish, and it was a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity for me. Thank you for inviting me to give this lecture. This is a topic which is close to my heart, which has become a passion for me. And although I'm a scientist practicing various aspects of modern science in biophysics, structural biology, and various things, this is a subject which has been at the heart of my life, and this has helped me very much in my regular profession as well. So essentially, it gives me a message that passion and profession go together, and they will help very much. Somebody else, my screen is gone again. Whatever. Somebody else is trying to.
So yeah, please mute yourself. Everyone, please mute yourself and don't share the screen.
Hello.
Other than Professor Hosur.
So my screen is gone.
So you disable everybody.
Okay. So okay, and then I would like to also express admiration to the Yogastha Club for taking this initiative in this modern world. And as you all know, yoga has been a tradition in India for thousands of years, and in between it had got lost for various reasons. And now that it is coming back, so and the Yogastha Club of IIT Bombay has taken a great initiative to revive it, and this is an extremely good opportunity, give the message of what yoga tells us to the world at large. And this certainly helps in one's own self-management. And this is the lesson to learn from practice of yoga. And that is the theme of the present talk. And we will go step by step and see how it has evolved over the years from various aspects of Indian culture and elsewhere as well. So this is the general outline of my talk. I will initially begin with the general description of the self-management itself. What is the importance of self-management in our life? Then I will tell you the description of the yoga principles. Then we will tell you what are our common experiences in our life, uncertainties and various prodigies we have seen, and what are the lessons we get from the Yoga Shastras, various Yoga Shastras, and Bhagavad Gita is one of those, and how to explain all the experiences what we get. And then, of course, to explain it in a scientific manner, generally the procedure is that you make a hypothesis, and generally in the scientific expertise, one makes a hypothesis and then you start experimentation, try and prove it and think like that, prove or disprove it, whatever. And in those hypotheses, what are the various elements that are coming in? And then we discuss the various aspects of that hypothesis, and then comes this understanding the Paramatma, importance of the Vedas, and then finally the conclusion. And I also have a message to everybody that is a duty to perform. All of us have a responsibility to our society, and that is a duty we have to perform. Okay, now mankind, as you know, has achieved incredible feats. For example, I have here a few of those. You can see here, this is the atomic structure. We can look inside the atom, which is such a small thing. We go into the atom, to the electrons and the nucleus, the quarks, etc. This is unbelievable development, unbelievable achievement that you're able to look through into such fine detail at the atomic level. On the other hand, you also have possibilities of looking at what is there in the world by sitting at home. You have the television screen, you can look at what is happening elsewhere, vision, not only within your own environment, but also elsewhere in the world, in the space, etc. All of these things you can see by sitting at home in your television. And next, you can see inside your own body without actually cutting the body. And that is your imaging technique. You have the CAT imaging here, the MRI imaging screens, and you are able to look inside it without actually cutting the body. So this is the absolutely harmless way of knowing inside your body. And of course, the treatments will follow looking at what we have seen. Then we have another example here. There is the mobile phone. All of us have mobile phones. That has made the whole world very small. We can communicate with people, see their images, talk to them. All kinds of applications are possible through the mobiles. The technology has changed so much. And of course, that makes the whole world extremely small. Then you have this achievement of your landing on the moon, going to the Mars, and of course, what else next, we don't know. And the most interesting thing is the creation of the clone of an animal. And of course, this was the first one, which is called the dolly, which was created in the laboratory after certain processes. Of course, following that, several other animals have been cloned. And these people think that, okay, is it a fantastic achievement? Indeed, it is a fantastic achievement. Therefore, it tends to give a feeling that, okay, somebody thinks, well, nothing is impossible in this world. In our own hands, I can do anything, everything is possible. So therefore, I'm completely competent, completely powerful, and I can do anything, and there is nothing impossible. This is the feeling one gets, and that is what you can see from the last bottom line there. However, there are some things which are not achieved. And that is, there is no peace and harmony in the world. There is only growing sorrow, is mistrust, insecurity, violence, jealousy, anxiety, greed, cheating, etc. We are vulnerable to all kinds of natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, cyclones, etc. And managing all of this is a great challenge. And this, we don't have a proper solution yet. So how do we get to this? And these are important things. Ultimately, you want to be peaceful in your life. Despite what your achievements you have with regard to your profession or your comforts and things like that, you still have to have peace. No matter how much money you earn, if you don't have peace, you can't enjoy it. So therefore, we have to have solutions for this, and this is where self-management comes into the picture. Self-management lies at the heart of achieving a peaceful life. And what do we do for that? Learn from experiences in life and evolve a disciplined lifestyle. Okay. Now, proper self-management is the key to effective management in any profession and in any situation. Okay. What are our ambitions in life as we are growing in our in the society, and we want to achieve various things? We have various kinds of ambitions. You want to be healthy, you want to be wealthy, be successful in the chosen profession, you want to be the best, you want to be the most powerful, be a good citizen, be the most loved one, and so on, so on, so on, so on. Ultimately, you want to be peaceful and happy. And that is the final thing. That's the final goal. If you achieve that, there is nothing more you want. Now, how do we get this? This is where yoga comes into the picture. Yoga Shastra provides the tools for effective self-management to achieve these goals. This has been there for thousands of years in our country. It has spread elsewhere also. And most of this literature is in Sanskrit. Therefore, we have to understand Sanskrit, learn Sanskrit to appreciate what is inside there. And therefore, you will see as I go along, many of the things which I'm going to present to you will be in Sanskrit language. Of course, I will provide you the English translations of all of those, which will help us to understand what is the message in all of those. The person who actually made yoga popular in the recent times is Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda, he actually learned it from the previous ancient literature. Well, it had died down. The world was suffering because of the world wars, and there was a lot of unrest, a lot of problems. And Vivekananda actually went to America sometime, and he lived only for 39 years, remember. And he made certain speeches. I will show you something about that one later. But Vivekananda talked about the yoga in the following manner. He said, yoga is controlling the senses, will and mind. Yoga is the method to understand reality. There are 4 components of it: Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Freedom of the soul is the goal of all yogas. Non-attachment is the basis. Vairagya is the turning point. Concentrating one's mind is a method to achieve perfection. So this was the message which Swami Vivekananda gave. And of course, he actually completely turned the world around when he gave the lecture in America, in Chicago. I will come to that a little bit later. And see, so therefore, the whole thing got revived. And now you see, in this last few years, international community has recognized yoga as one of the important aspects of life. And so June 21 is therefore declared as the International Year of Yoga. What all the components are there? We will see. Certain components are still not there, and we have to bring in those components as well to make the whole life peaceful and happy. Okay. The very early yoga principles were given by what are called as the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali are a collection of 196 Sanskrit sutras compiled sometimes between 500 to 400 BCE, 400 BCE by the sage Patanjali in India. The word yoga is derived from the Sanskrit root yuj, meaning to join or to unite. And he defined yoga as yoga chitta vritti nirodha. This is a Sanskrit sentence. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So what is chitta? Chitta is mind. Vritti is functioning of mind. And nirodha is control. You must control your mind. So we have our thoughts, emotions, feelings, and conditionings of the mind. Yoga is to control the functioning of the mind. It has certain components. This describes certain components of this yoga, which is called as Ashtanga Yoga. These are 8 components of this. One calls them as the limbs of yoga. 8 limbs of yoga called as Ashtanga. Ashtanga means 8 limbs. 8 limbs of yoga. So this has Samadhi, which means union, integration. Then you have the yamas, external disciplines, niyama, internal disciplines, asana, posture, meditation, seat, and various kinds of asanas you can have, postures you can have, pranayam, which is the breath control. Then you have pratyahara, withdrawal of senses, dharana is concentration, dhyana is meditative absorption. So these are the 8 components which have their own prescriptions, and we have to follow these things to be able to achieve a peaceful and harmonious life. So now among all of these, what has happened is some of these components have been lost, and people have only gained expertise and faith or practicing only this particular aspect, which is called as the asana. One thinks yoga means only doing these exercises, various kinds of exercises for your good health, and many of the other things have been forgotten. But all of those things are important to be able to get a peaceful mind and get a proper harmony between the body and the mind and achieve a peaceful life. Okay, now even older Shastra, even older scripture is the so-called Bhagavad Gita, which is also a Yoga Shastra. And this was 3000 BCE, even earlier than the Yoga Sutra. And here Krishna defines yoga as Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. This is again a Sanskrit statement, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Samatvam means balanced state, Uchyate means said to be. So what all is included in this? Yoga is a balanced state of the body and mind. Yoga is a balanced state of emotions. Yoga is a balanced state of thoughts and intellect. Yoga is a balanced state of behavior. We are excited in the situation of pleasure and we become sad when it is a negative situation. Yoga is to maintain equilibrium of the mind in any situation. This equanimity of mind is the ultimate objective of yoga. Clearly, you can see Ashtanga Yoga is subsumed in the above definition. Even when Patanjali wrote the Yoga Sutras, he already had an access to this Bhagavad Gita, which is even much earlier than that. So therefore, all the principles of yoga, including this mind meditation, which is the Ashtanga Yoga, which I mentioned to you earlier, they are all subsumed in this. I'll use certain examples of that here. Swami Vivekananda, once again, what he stated when he gave a lecture in Chicago on September 11, 1893. I'm just quoting from that lecture. The present convention, this was actually a parliament of religions. This was a function organized by the parliament of religions. There was a conference over there and he was giving a talk. In that talk, he said, the present convention, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, is in itself a vindication, a declaration to the world of the wonderful doctrine preached in the Gita. Notice here, he is referring to the Gita. Whosoever comes to me, and this is where Krishna makes a declaration, whosoever comes to me, through whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me. So this was the message which Krishna is giving in the Gita. And this has nothing to do with any particular region, religion, etc. Nothing. It is absolutely universal science. And therefore, the message that is given here is riches all over. And we have to learn from these messages which are there in the Gita. And as I mentioned to you before, all the messages in Gita are in Sanskrit. As in the Yoga Shastra, they are all in Sanskrit. One should try and understand what these Sanskrit padyas mean, and we can take steps according to that. For example, for the Dhyana Yoga, which is called the meditation, also indicated in this one, it says here, he defines how to do the Dhyana Yoga. He says, Tatraikagram manah kritva yatachittendriya kriyaha upavish asane yunjat yogam atmashuddhaye samam kaya shiro griyavam dharayan achalam sthiraha sampreksha nasikagram swam dishashchan anavalokayan. So he says you should sit on a particular seat very steadily, firmly, and that seat should be of a particular type, that you should sit very firmly on that one. And you should look at your nose, seated firmly. The yogi should strive to purify the mind by focusing it in meditation with one pointed concentration, controlling all thoughts and activities. He must hold the body, neck and head firmly in a straight line and gaze at the tip of the nose without allowing the eyes to wander, so that you have a concentration over there. How to meditate, how to concentrate, and how to sit on what sort of a position, and all that is described in this one. Okay, so here is a picture to show you how Dhyana Yoga is done, the meditation is done. But controlling the mind, controlling this one is one thing. Secondly, you should also be able to control the body. Yoga, Gita also tells you about that, because you need to have good health and good body to be able to do this. And therefore, Gita also prescribes how to do that. He says here, Yuktahara viharasya, Yukta cheshtasya karmasu, Yukta swapnavabodhasya, Yogo bhavati dukkha. Those who are temperate in eating and recreation, balanced in work, and regulated in sleep can mitigate all sorrows by practicing yoga. So he defines about how to, what sort of a food, what sort of a things you should take, how much to eat, not to eat too much, not to eat less, not to sleep more, not to sleep less, and what sort of activities you should perform. This includes the exercises which we told you before, the asanas, what all those things. Those are all integrated into this shloka. Now, that is so far as the individual is concerned. His own mind, with his own body, with his own brain. Now, we live in a society. When you live in a society, there are various other kinds of factors which play a role. Therefore, if you look in the context of the self, society, and nature, we make certain observations here. Some of these are related to the individual self also. For example, you come to know that life is uncertain. We cannot predict the future events. You don't know whether you will get a heart attack tomorrow. You don't know whether you will get a stroke tomorrow. What happens to the rains? What happens outside? You have no control over it. You think of something, it may not happen that way. That's what we are saying. Life is uncertain. We have no control over the results of our efforts. We do an experiment, we do a particular thing, we are not sure whether we'll get the results the way we want. Therefore, it is not absolutely in our hands to see what the results will be. So we all experience coincidences. We say, there is a coincidence here. I was thinking of this and the same thing was happened. It actually happened. So this is the coincidence. We all think we all experience this. And we all experience good luck and bad luck. We say, there is a good luck here for me. There was a bad luck here. It was a bad luck that I didn't get this. Okay, fine. It was a good luck that I got this. Everybody experiences these kinds of things. So life is full of emotions, joy, sorrow. Both of all of these are unpredictable. And all individuals are different. That we all experience. Even the twins have intrinsic differences, even as babies. Although they grow under identical environments, they have still very intrinsic differences. Now then there are prodigies. Prodigies are something which is, I will show you some of those examples here. We have the natural disasters which happen, like the earthquakes and the cyclones and the floods and things like that. And it is extremely difficult to manage this. We are susceptible to all of those ones. And we are not, it is not possible to say, okay, this should not happen. Well, it happens, it happens. You have to see what we should do next. And the laws of nature are not in our control. Of course, this we can never change them. And they are there and we have to just follow them. Okay. Now let me give you some examples of prodigies. They are inconceivable. To take, for example, Shakuntala Devi. She is a mathematical prodigy. Her father discovered his daughter's ability to memorize numbers while teaching her a card trick when she was about 3 years old. Her father took her on road shows that displayed her ability at calculation. She did this without any formal education. At the age of 6, she demonstrated her arithmetic abilities at the University of Mysore. And today you must have seen there is a film on Shakuntala Devi, which actually demonstrated all her life, whatever happened in her life. And surely we can imagine that what a prodigy she was. Okay, then we have this Mozart. He is a musician, a true example of a child prodigy. A young composer could pick out tunes on the piano at the age of 3 and began composing by age 4. By the time he was 12, he had doctored 10 symphonies and performed for royalty. How did he get this knowledge? This is impossible to conceive. And here is an example who is actually living. Even today she is there. Martha Argerich. She is born in 1941. She is still alive, 79-year-old. She was a pianist. Aged 5, she took up the piano and was soon hailed as a prodigy, performing in public. She is still there. Then we have Srinivasa Ramanujam. At the age of 13, he completely mastered a book on advanced trigonometry written by S.L. Loney. By that time, he had also discovered sophisticated theorems on his own. And he says, an equation means nothing to me unless it expresses a thought of God. So he has already discovered that there is something which is absolutely beyond him, and that actually is motivating him to do certain things, and he's able to do it because of that. So these are some of these examples of the great prodigies which are not conceivable in the normal frame of our thinking. Then you have mathematics and science. There is a person who lived only 39 years, Blaise Pascal, 1623 to 1662, was a French mathematician, a physicist, and a religious philosopher who wrote a treatise on vibrating bodies at the age of 9. He wrote his first proof on a wall with a piece of coal at the age of 11 years and a theorem by the age of 16 years. So I have given 18 examples from various parts of the world. See how prodigies exist everywhere. And we have so many of them. I can't list all of those ones here. I just listed a few of them. A number of saints and scholars exhibited unbelievable supernatural powers. They could actually see the future. I will listed a few of those who are in India, who lived in India. Purandaradasa, he has actually written 4 lakh poems praising the Lord. Kanakadasa, Vijayadasa, Jagannathadasa, Jayatirtha, Vyasatirtha, Vadirajatirtha, Vijayendra Tirtha, Raghavendra Tirtha. Then we also have Sai Baba, Santa Tukaram, Santa Jnaneshwar, Gajanan Maharaj. And of course, if you go to the ancient ones, Rishis like Valmiki, Vashishta, Vedavyasa, Vishwamitra, just to name a few, all these people exhibited unbelievable supernatural powers. Okay, now how can one explain all such factors, all such observations, uncertainties in the life, various kinds of observations we make which are inconceivable, and these are prodigies which I mentioned to you, and therefore we have to find a solution. Now, Bhagavad Gita here, it is the Yoga Shastra, addresses all such observations and provides a rationale and belief. We are going to look into those ones in somewhat greater detail now. There are 2 inseparable components in this Yoga Shastra. One is self-control, and second is the philosophy of life. Both are related, they are inseparable, both can be talked about individually, independently, but both are related. We need one for the other. Okay, self-control. Let's begin with self-control. I mentioned to you, we have no control over the results of our efforts. And this is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. It says, Karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, ma karma phalahetuhu ma turbhu mate sangostva karmani. What it says? On your duty only you have the right. You do your duty, not on the fruits of it ever. Okay? Never for the desire for fruit should you perform. Never should you be attracted to inaction. If you don't get the result of your choice, you should not stop doing action. You cannot do it. You will have to continue to do your actions. That's called karma. You have a right on that one. You can do your karma, but you don't have a right on the results that you will get. So therefore, this is the uncertainty which is already mentioned. These are statements only. Then the life is full of emotions which we all experience. Joy, sorrow, unpredictable. This is again addressed in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Matras Prashasta Kaunteya, Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhadaha, Agama Apaino Nityaha, Tan Titichasva Bharata. O son of Kunti, this is, as you know, Bhagavad Gita is a conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Essentially, Arjuna is only a representative of us, and Krishna is the avatar of the God. So he is teaching Arjuna, essentially is teaching us. O son of Kunti, the contact between the senses and the sense objects gives rise to fleeting perceptions of happiness and distress. These are non-permanent and come and go like the winter and summer seasons. O descendant of Bharat, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So that is a message from this shlok. Okay. Now, we have all kinds of ambitions, right? Ambitions actually are the cause of miseries and emotions. This is what is stated here. Jhaito vishayan posaha, sangasteshu upajayate, sangat sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodho vijayate. The meaning is, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. What next? Krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha, buddhinashat pranashyati. From anger, delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, he destroys himself. So that is the ultimate end of the particular individual if you follow this krodha and all of that. Okay. So therefore, how do we get rid of this? What to do? So when Arjuna asks him what to do, so Krishna has answered to him, prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmannevatmana tushtaha stita prajnas tadochate. He says you have to become a balanced person. So when you are a balanced person, you will not be touched by all of these various kinds of factors which are described before. When a person is satisfied in himself and being content with that, expels all the desires of the mind, and then he is said to be a man of firm wisdom, and he will not suffer. When he is a person of wisdom, that is called a Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna is a man of firm wisdom. When he has that, then he will not suffer because of those temporary feelings what you have come across because of your connections with the Vishayas and then the Krodha and all of those things which we discussed in the previous two shlokas. Okay. Now, what is the Sthita Prajna? One definition, he asks, what is the Sthita Prajna? So here it says, qualities of a Sthita Prajna, you should be desireless, since fully satisfied with the self. You have situation stability, unshaken by adversity, nor is ambitious. Emotional stability, neither pleased with good nor vexed at evil. Complete self-control. Tranquility, established in eternal calmness of the mind. Established in fullness, undisturbed by the desires, just as the ocean is undisturbed by the constant flow of rivers into it. Oneness with Brahman. That comes later. So these are the basic qualities which you have for a person to become a Sthita Prajna. Once he is there, no sorrow, no joy disturbs him. And he always remains the same and peaceful. However, how does one achieve this? How does one achieve this sort of a control? So therefore, he says you first understand the enemies of self. What are the enemies of self? So these are 6 enemies which are defined here. These are called Arishad Vargas: arrogance, anger, jealousy, attachment, greed, desire. The other words for that is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. So these are the Arishad Vargas, are called the Ripus or the Vairis, the enemies of the human self. So now, how do we get this? So he explains that here, Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyena Miha Vairinam. Krishna is describing to Arjuna how these are the enemies. In this lust alone, which is born of contact with the mode of passion and later transformed into anger. Know this as the sinful, all-devouring enemy in the world. Okay, and therefore he advises him, Tasmatum Indriyanyado Niyamya Bharatarshava Papmanam Prajahihenam Jnana Vijnana Nashanam. Therefore, O best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, bring the senses under control and slay this enemy called desire, which is the embodiment of sin and destroys the knowledge and realization. Therefore, these are the prescriptions for self-control. Now, is it possible to achieve it by just reading through this? What else you need to know for this? And that is where I said that the 2 components of the self-management, and that is self-control and philosophy of life. To achieve self-control, it is necessary and important to understand the philosophy of life. Why do these things occur as they occur? And that is the question one always has. And this is related to the philosophy of life. Therefore, let us try and look at that aspect of philosophy of life. Now, here we ask these questions. Is everything comprehensible by experimentation and logic? Is it theoretically possible to understand all the phenomena in the framework of known laws of nature, predict the future and be deterministic? So can one be always happy and peaceful by his own choice? What is luck? Is there anything called luck? What is coincidence? How do prodigies occur? These are important questions. A satisfactory answer to these questions is essential for an effective protocol of self-management. Okay, how do we do this? What sort of a theory we should have? Well, you start with a hypothesis. As in the scientific practice, we also start with a hypothesis here. What is the best hypothesis that can explain all the observations? The Yoga Shastras suggest some clues here. Several scholars for centuries have pondered over this question. And what is the outcome? Outcome is various kinds of hypotheses have been put forward. I'm only putting forward here the most accepted one, hypothesis. There are 3 components, particular components which you have to think of. One is define the existence of a soul, Jivatma, inside the body, Sharir, of every living species. Body is required for performing actions, that is karma, but emotions are felt by the soul, that is the jivatma. Then you say, then we define the existence of a supreme soul, Paramatma, who is all powerful, Sarvajna, Swatantra, without blemishes, that is Nirdosha, and he is referred to as God in general. I mean, God is there in every kind of environment, whether it is India or Western countries or Eastern countries or whatever, there is God everywhere. Everybody has a faith in that concept. And this is the kind of a thing which is incorporated in this hypothesis. And both Paramatma and Jivatma are eternal, but the body dies. Okay. So there are three prominent models for the Jivatma and Paramatma relationships. There were many others, but I just picked up the three important ones here, which have made rounds over the centuries, and I'm just picking up only those three. First one is that of Shankaracharya, which was in the 8th century, which was called as Advaita. It is non-dualism. According to that, we're not going to the great details of these theories, because these are themselves very big theories. We're just given the general principles here. World is an illusion. Paramatma alone is real and eternal. Paramatma is shrouded by Maya, is regarded as Jivatma. Maya gets destroyed by Jnana. And Ramanujacharya, his theory was called Vishishtadvaita. World is real. It is non-dualism of the qualified whole, in which Brahma alone exists, but is characterized by multiplicity. Madhvacharya, 13th century, notice he is the latest among all the three. His philosophy is called as Dvaita, says world is real. Paramatma and Jivatma are different always. This is dualism here. Paramatma is Swatantra, omnipotent, and all-pervading. All Jivatmas are Paratantra and are intrinsically different. Jivatma is dictated by Paramatma. Now, all the three Acharyas were great people. They are fantastic powers. They had fantastic powers. All the three Acharyas displayed supernatural powers. I will just show you some of those here. Shankaracharya, for example, he had the knowledge of what is called as Parakaya Pravesha, transmigration of soul, Parakaya Pravesha. This technique is actually described in Yoga Sutra 338. And that is that sutra is here. Brahat Karana Shaitilyat Prachara Samvedanacha Chittasya Parasharira Veshaha. Relaxation of the cause for binding and experience of manifestation, the psyche entering other body. He actually demonstrated this in one of his Vada Vivada scenario. That is one thing. And the second thing is, you see here, while at the Patishala, the student has to go out and beg for his food. That was a kind of a convention. He reached the house of a poor Brahmin woman who had nothing but half-rotten gooseberries. She was mentally upset that she had nothing worthwhile to give the boy to eat. Shankara wanted to save the lady from the mental agony and sang a hymn to goddess Lakshmi, which resulted in the shower of golden amalaka fruits all around the house. The hymn is known as Kanakadara Stavam. Ramanujacharya, again a great man, and he had a guru whose name was Alavandar. When Alavandar died, he was not there. So when he came back, the last rites were going on. During the last rites, people noticed that the three fingers of Alavandar remained folded, signifying three of his last unfulfilled wishes. Now Ramanuja swore by him that he would write a commentary on Veda Vyasa's Brahma Sutra, that he would perpetuate the memory of Vyasa and Parashara, and that he would strive to propagate Vishishtadvaita. As he started swearing, the fingers unfolded one by one automatically and stretched out to normal position. I mean, this is something which is incomprehensible. But these are supernatural powers. Everybody cannot do it. Now, Madhvacharya, once he was asked to protect the curds and milk kept in the pots from cats, being playful as a very child, with a few years only, 4 or 5 years, being playful and restive child, he lifted 2 huge pieces of granites and closed the milk and curd pots. These are called Masurukallu and Halukallu, have been preserved for the posterity even today at Pachaka Kshetra. This is the place where he was born, and that's near Udupi. Once Acharya was traveling through the Goa region, a Brahmana named Shankara invited him to his place. He wanted to test him. So he offered 4,000 banana fruits to him, which was first offered to God. Acharya ate all of them and later drank 30 vessels full of milk. One more of Madhvacharya. So here you can see at Ambutirtha, where river Bhadra flows, a huge block of stone that was length of the stone is 6.1 meters, breadth 3.6 meters, and height 10.98 meters, approximately weighing 50 tons, which a number of people together found impossible to move. He lifted with one hand and placed it in the proper place effortlessly. An inscription in Sanskrit stating this can be found on the stone even today. And that's what I have shown here on the right hand side. And this is the language is Sanskrit, but the script is Kannada. It says Sri Madhvacharya Ekahasten Aita Sthapita Shila. This is and then you can see on the top the stone itself, how big it is, how many people are standing on that one. They are doing the puja. That is where this inscription is present. Okay. Now, so all of these three were great people. We had several kinds of people who had supernatural powers, and all the three models are based on Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Puranas, and such other scriptures. Although they differ slightly in the philosophical context, their messages for Jiva's karma for proper self-management are essentially the same. Okay. Now, with regards to the self, now the Gita also describes about the Prakriti, about the world itself. What is the world like? What it all contains. So he says here, Krishna is telling Arjuna, Bhumirapo nalo vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtada. There are 8 components of the Prakriti, and those are earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect, and ego. These are 8 components of any material energy. And then he says, Prakritim purusham cheva vidyanadi ubhavapi. Vikaranscha gunanscha vidya prakriti sambhavan. So how are these things coming? He says, know that Prakriti and Purusha are both beginningless. That means anadi. Anadi means doesn't begin from any particular time. Also know that all transformations of the body and the 3 modes of nature are produced by material energy. This is with regard to the world and the Purusha, which are the various components of the Jagat. Okay. Now, the hypothesis continued. That was the first part of the hypothesis. And now we go to the next part of the hypothesis. And that says, Jivatma takes several births and goes through the cycle of birth and death till he achieves moksha. To that, there is a statement, shloka here. Bahuni me vetitani janmani tavacharjuna. Tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veta parantapa. Parantapa means Arjuna here. And Krishna is telling, both you and I have had many births, O Arjuna. You do not know them, well, I know them all. So, O Parantapa. Parantapa means again Arjuna. Now, how does this happen? So he gives an explanation. How does this happen? What it is like when you want to say Jiva goes from one, takes several births. So he says here, Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya, navani grinhati naroparani, tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani, anyani sanyati navani dehi. What it means is, as a person puts on new clothes, discarding old and torn clothes, similarly a personified soul enters new material bodies, leaving the old bodies. So this is the explanation as how Jiva goes from one body to another body. The whole process, of course, is very complicated. How does it enter? Where does it come from? All that is very complicated. These are all described in other Shastras like Brahma Sutras and various places. And we are not going to go into all of that. But the message is clear that this is the way it happens. Now, Jivatma next. Jivatma using his body performs karma in every birth. In every birth, he is doing actions, right? So that karma, he requires a body for that, the sharira. So using this body performs karma. Now, when he does karma, what is the reward he will get? That reward is called as karma phala. Karma phala, there are different kinds of rewards. There are 2 particularly important rewards. Mostly everything is classified into these 2. One is called punya, and this is due to virtuous action, selfless and for the good of others, with a sense of dedication to the Paramatma. This is called as punya. Papa means due to sinful action, selfish, filled with arrogance, injury to others, hating Paramatma. So depending upon what sort of a karma you do, you get a reward of that type, and eventually that determines what sort of a thing you will get in your future, the next birth. So therefore, he advises Arjuna to see what kind of a karma you should do. So he says here, Niyatam Sangarahitam Aragad Dveshata Kritam afala prepsuna karma yat satvikam uchyate. Yatat satvikam uchyate. Action that is in accordance with the scriptures, which is free from attachment and aversion, and which is done without desire for rewards, is in the mode of goodness. Therefore, this is called as punya karma. Now, what is papa karma? It defines here, anubandham kshayam himsam anapekshya paurusham mohadarabhyate karma yattat tamasam uchyate. That action is declared to be in the mode of ignorance, which is begun out of delusion, without thought to one's own ability, and disregarding consequences, loss and injury to others. Therefore, this is called as papa karma. So what are the rewards? We will see here. Ragadvesha viyuktistu vishyan indriyaischaran. Atmavasher videyatma prasadam adhigachati. One who controls the mind and is free from attachment and aversion, even while using the objects of the senses, attains the grace of God. This is called as punya phala. So he does a punya karma, he attains the grace of God, and that is called as the punya phala. Now, prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate prasanna chetaso hyashu buddhi paryavatishtate. So by divine grace comes the peace in which all sorrows end, and the intellect of such a person of tranquil mind soon becomes firmly established in God. Once again, this is punya phala. So if you do punya karma, you get punya phala. Okay. Therefore, he's next he explains what is the papa phala. If you do a papa karma, what happens? Nasti buddhirayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayata shantihi ashantasya kutas sukham. A person who has not controlled the mind and senses can neither have a resolute intellect nor steady contemplation on God. For one who never unites the mind with God, there is no peace, and how can one who lacks peace be happy? Papa phala. Therefore, he advises Arjuna to do it in this manner. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasya vikatajvaraha. So he says, performing all works as an offering to me, constantly meditate on me as the Supreme, become free from desire and selfishness, and with your mental grief departed, fight. Now, fight here in the context of Mahabharata, he is telling, okay, you fight, you go into the war. However, when it comes to us, it is a fighting on your life. So you actually have to we are doing a fight all through our life. Everything we do is a fight. Therefore, if you design these principles here, follow these principles, we actually get the punya phala. So this is the general framework of behavior in our daily life. Okay. Now, next, once you are saying you are doing to please the God, you have everything the God has to be pleased. That does not mean that you cannot do things by your own. You have to be self-reliant. That is the buddhi. You have the buddhi, you have the intellect. Therefore, you should do things by your own. Wherever you can do by your own, and that is called self-reliance or atmanirbharata. So you must be able to manage things yourself. Of course, dedicate that to the God afterwards, so that, and this should not harm others, which should not be papa phala, and it should be punya karma. So therefore, he says, uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. So you must try to do things yourself, self-control, and do things by yourself. That is called self-reliance. Elevate yourself through the power of your mind and not degrade yourself. For the mind can be the friend and also the enemy of the self. Therefore, when you do it in a controlled manner and dedicate yourself, dedicate that karma to the Paramatma, then you benefit, and this also gives you self-confidence. Once you achieve this, you get in self-confidence, which is very much required for your daily management in whatever you are doing, whether it is your profession or whether it is your home management or whatever. So this confidence is required. Now, thus, karma phala depends on the nature of the karma. Jivatma carries this from one birth to the next. And this is the next part of it. That is, Jivatma goes, since Jivatma is eternal, he actually goes, we said already, that he goes from one birth to the next birth, and he carries the karma phala with him from one birth to the next. That is actually stated by Maharshi Vyas, with his Veda Vyas, Purva Janma Kritam Karma Taddaivam iti Kathyate. So we Jivatma have to reap the fruits in this birth of what we have sown in the previous births. This is termed as fate, fortune, or destiny. Now we understand what is luck, what is destiny, what is fate. Therefore, it all comes because of this. Your karmas in the particular generation, particular life are dictated by what you did before, and that therefore you can explain all kinds of things here. Therefore, there is the behaviors of different individuals can be different because of this. There's nothing as coincidence. Prodigies are very much possible because they carry that knowledge from accumulated knowledge from the various births. Therefore, twins can behave differently, even as small babies. Therefore, all of these questions are answering certain important observations. I mean, all of these are answering various observations we made earlier. Okay. Now then, of course, the question comes, what is Paramatma? How do we understand him? We said, okay, you should dedicate it to the Paramatma. He is telling you something, you should perform it, and you should surrender to him. But who is he? Understanding Paramatma. So therefore, Nasti Narayana Samam Nabhutam na Bhavishyati. Etena Satyavakyena Sarvarthan Sadhyamyaham. This is in Mahabharata. And there it says, its meaning is, there is no one, never was, nor ever will be equal to Narayana. This is the absolute truth. Paramatma, who is unique, has to be experienced. Therefore, you cannot do experiment on Paramatma. Paramatma has to be experienced. He will be understood by to different extents by different jivatmas, who are all intrinsically different. So he cannot be comprehended by experimentation and logic. So we can say that if Madhvacharya can do this, can I also do this? No, you cannot do it. See, it depends on the individual's abilities, and these are different. They are all intrinsically different. And how do we perceive such a Paramatma? Vishnu is to be perceived in his nature through the holy scriptures and only through them. This is what Madhvacharya says. And what do the Vedas, which are these holy scriptures? These are the Vedas. Attributes of Paramatma can only be understood by Vedas. He is all powerful, Sarvajna, and all pervading. He is the only Swatantra Karta. This is actually stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridasannivishto mattah smritijnana amapohanancha Vedaisha sarvaye ahameva vedyo Vedanta krat veda videva chaham. I am seated in the hearts of all living beings, and from me come memory, knowledge, as well as forgetfulness. I alone am to be known by all the Vedas. I am the author of the Vedanta and the knower of the meaning of the Vedas. Okay. Well, fine. It's to be known through the Vedas, but how do you know what Vedas says is correct? What is the validity of the Vedas? What is the pramanya of the Vedas? We can demonstrate this. There is a big argument of, there's a big chapter on these ones. We cannot go into those details of the subject, but however, we can demonstrate this by certain illustrations, by certain examples. So when Madhvacharya was traveling all over the country, all over the places, once a king, a non-believer in Vedas, challenged the Acharya to prove the efficacy of the Vedic mantras. The Acharya uttering the Vedic Sukta. This was the particular mantra which that king was actually reciting, and this mantra says that, okay, if you do it, a seed will germinate and it will grow into flowers, and the seeds will come, fruits, etc. All of that thing will come. But he was not getting it. Therefore, he said Vedas are rubbish. They are not valid. But then the same mantra Madhvacharya recited. Ya Aushadhihi Purvajata Devabhyo Striyugam Pura Manenu Babrunamaham Shatam Dhamani Saptam Cha. This is from the Rigveda. This is the shloka from the Rigveda. And he threw on the ground a handful of green gram, which at once sprouted, bore flowers, and seed gram. So he demonstrated that. Therefore, only the capable jivas can comprehend Vedas and Paramatma. And they, once they have this, these are called as the Prokshajnanis, they can perform all the kinds of supernatural activities. Another example of validity of the Vedas, I will show you. This comes from the Western person, somebody called Patrick Brockman. He made an observation, not that he has actually demonstrated anything. He made an observation here. The Patrick Brockman, he says Rigveda is considered the oldest known text on the planet at pre-10,000 BC. It reminds us that the dharmic culture of India knew the average distance from the earth to both moon and sun, were 108 times their diameters. Then he exclaims, how extraordinary and yet mysterious culture it is. What is the number 108? This reminds us that 108 has some significance. We always say 108 Shri, 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 Shri and things like that, no? So maybe this number comes from there, who knows? Yeah. So, but you can see here, there are various distances given. The diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles, and Earth is 8,000 miles. Sun is 8,64,000 miles, and the distance between the Earth and the Sun is 108 suns. That is 8,64,000 into 108. That is 93 million miles. The distance between Earth and the Moon is 108 moons. That is 2,160 into 108. That is 2,33,000 miles, approximate distance. And what do we know from modern science today? That's given below. The Moon is 2,171 miles. Earth is 7,964 miles. Sun is 8,70,438 miles. Moon Earth distance is 2,38,900 miles. Earth to Sun is 93.64 millions. Bravo. How close it is. How close it is. What technology did they have? How did they predict this? Is unbelievable. This is so amazing that because so much information is present in these scriptures, and so valid this is, and therefore, but unfortunately, a lot of this has been lost, and it is time for us to revive all of this. Now, therefore, in conclusion, I would like to say, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Sri Vijayo Bhutihi, Dhruva Netir Matir Mama. This is at the end of the Mahabharata war. Sanjay actually concludes in this manner. Where there is Krishna, the Lord of Yogas, and where there is Partha, the wielder of the bow, there is fortune, victory, prosperity, and unfailing prudence. Such is my conviction. This is what Sanjay is saying. Okay, now Sanjay was actually was having a power to see the war from a distance, and he is actually narrating all of the story to Dhritarashtra. And while he is doing that, he actually concludes in this manner. So he says, Yogeshwar, he calls Krishna as Yogeshwaraha because he is prescribing all the yoga principles. He is all through the Bhagavad Gita, he has described the yoga principles. And this is encompassing all parts of yoga, all parts of the requirements. That is, you must have the good health, good body, good mind, balanced mind, and you should do karma for the benefit of others, not for yourself alone. And actually, if you do it for the benefit of others, others will do the same thing. Therefore, you will also benefit. Therefore, it is a mutual thing. It will always happen. But don't do things in expectation. If you do things in expectation, that actually leads to swartha, and that leads to various kinds of miseries, as we have already seen before. Therefore, what a fantastic message you have here. And this is coming from there. And then Krishna himself declares in the Bhagavad Gita, said, Ananyas chintayanto mam yejana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So he says, there are those who always think of me and engage in exclusive devotion to me. To them whose minds are always absorbed in me, I provide what they lack and preserve what they already possess. Therefore, their yogakshema is my responsibility. Their wellness is my responsibility. That is what the Yogeshwara is saying. Therefore, what you have to do is, you have to simply follow his principles. He says, Ananya chintayanto mam yejanaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyam. So if you think of me and follow the lessons which are given you in the Bhagavad Gita, it is my responsibility to take care of you, to give you peace and whatever you want. And that is the declaration which Krishna makes in the Bhagavad Gita at the end. Therefore, what is the take-home message from all of this for effective self-management? Paramatma is supreme, Swatantra, controls the Jivatma and the universe, can only be understood from Vedas. Individual jivas have intrinsically different capabilities. Jiva should have a balanced mind and control his senses. Jiva should win over karma, kama, krodha, mada, matsara, lobha, and moha. Engage in such karma which is beneficial to the mankind. Jiva carries his karma phala from one birth to the next, which reflects in his behavior in each birth. Jiva should perform his karma with a sense of surrender to Paramatma, realizing that phala is not in his control. So, phalapeksha, without phalapeksha, he should do his karma. According to this duty, he should do his parva, and that is called as nivratta karma, and you should be engaged in what is called as nivratta karma. Strive for jnana, bhakti, and vairagya. These are the three essential elements to be able to achieve what Krishna has been preaching. Now, such a jiva is a true yogi, and he gains health, happiness, tranquility, confidence, and wisdom. So, having said all of this, do we just listen and go? No, we have a duty to perform. And this is called as holistic education and research. So you have to, once you learn all of these things, you will have to pass on this message to the younger generation so that they also lead a happy life, a peaceful life. They follow the principles so that they achieve what they want to achieve. At the same time, they are peaceful. And in whatever they are doing, they achieve success in whatever they are doing, which is in the interest of and the wellness of the society as a whole. And that is the holistic education and research. So, and once you do that, you become a role model. That is, Krishna says that also in the Bhagavad Gita, Yadyadacharite sreshtaha tattadeva itaro janaha sayat pramanam kurate lokas tadanu vartate. Whatever actions great persons perform, common people follow. Whatever standards they set, all the world pursues. Okay, so then finally I will say, wish you all the best in all your efforts. Before going, I would like to say, Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashchit Sarva Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What is the meaning? May all be happy, may all be free from illness, may all see what is auspicious, may no one suffer, and there will be peace, peace, and peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a few questions.
Yes, please.
Right, they've been posting them in the chat box. I'll just read them out. So we have time for a few questions.
Yeah. I finished in time, right?
Yes, sir, it's perfect.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so what I see as the first question here is from Ramanand Singh Yadav. We talked about a little about prodigies and karma phala. Can we understand by some observation that karma being
carried forward, karma being, sorry?
Hello.
Hello, I can't.
Yeah, so the question is, karma can be carried from one birth to another?
Yes. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so the next question is from Sajid Menon. Why Paramatma not give us Jivatma sense to do Punya Karma only? Why are we in the first place born?
Yeah, no, this is a good question. This is what actually also asked by Arjuna in this one. So, I mean, that is actually a much deeper question. So every Jivatma has a particular what is called as the Yogyata. Okay. And then always in the world, there are both kinds of actions which are happening. Without the presence of the one, you cannot see the value of the other. Both the things are present always. Okay. And it is Paramatma actually directs the person to do what sort of things he should do. And then you use the karma phala according to that. And this karma phala goes into his so-called account, karma phala account. And according to that, he does the karma in the next birth. This is called as prarabdha karma. And the prarabdha karma drives the person's activities, and there is a certain path. It goes through that path. And these wrongs and good things are both directed by him. This will show the importance of both the things, that one should not be doing this and one should be doing this. Hello?
Okay. Hope that this, hope that this answers his question.
Yeah.
So the next question comes from Professor Amandeep Kaur Dhingra.
Yeah.
He asked what is the difference between Indian philosophy and the Western philosophy? And next question is, what is karma philosophy? The karma we do consciously or unconsciously?
Karma, okay. The karma you always do. Okay, consciously or unconsciously, you always do karma. There are involuntary actions and there are voluntary actions. Okay, this karma is always, even during the swapna, you still do the karma. Karma you cannot stop. This is inaction. This not doing is inaction. You can't be doing that. Karma you always do. Okay. So now what sort of a karma you will do? You will actually, the desires, according to the desires, you create certain desires and you start doing karma according to that. And of course, the fruits of that is not clear to you. You don't have the control over the fruits of those, but you do the karma. Does that answer the question? Karma you will do. You cannot stop doing karma.
So one related question is came from Arvind Srivastava. How do we decide what is good karma and what is bad karma?
I define that. No, good karma is one thing which is devoid of swarth. If you do it only for self, that can never be good karma. The good karma is one which is actually good for the society, for the others, and therefore it will please the God. And because ultimately that is what you want to have, and then accordingly you will be given good rewards as well. You see how it has relevance with regard to the society. If you do good for the others, if everybody does that, okay, if everybody does that, there will be only peace. There will only be good things inside the society. That's why it is called good karma. Swartha always leads to destruction.
Yes, thank you, sir. I hope this answers the question. And there's one more question from Sugandha. What is the significance of Ida and Pingla?
Sorry?
What is the significance of Ida and Pingla?
Ida and Pingla?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Sugandha, are you here? If you can ask your question.
Can you explain that question?
Okay, Avinash, you can skip to the next question. I think she is not here.
Yeah, so that's
Ida and Pingala is a name of the nadi.
Oh, okay. Those are different things. See, that is inside the body. There is a description of the various nadis inside your body. There is an anatomy and the biology of the body. A lot of that has been described inside the in various Puranas. No, actually, Ashutosh also had mentioned to me to talk about this, but this actually itself will take several hours to describe. To describe the various nadis, the various chakras and things like that. That is a big subject in itself. That is the biology. There is the anatomy and the biology of the body and how it reflects in your various actions. Depending upon what state those ones are, how your actions happen. So that is a different subject, and it is quite an elaborate subject in a sense.
okay.
We can talk about it at some other time.
Yes, sir. So next question is from Anjali. While doing selfless actions, generally people around us criticize us. As these days everyone is busy in their own life and they don't want us to waste our time. What to do in this situation?
That is where it says Sukha Dukkhe Same Kritva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo. I didn't quote this shloka. Sukha Dukkhe Same Kritva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo, which means that whether it is coming good for you or coming bad for you, you should always remain balanced. You have to be a balanced person. You should not be depressed by somebody criticizing you, or you should not become jubilant when somebody praising you. So this should not happen. That is what is called as the balanced mind. And that is also what leads to what is called as the Sthita Prajna. Once you become a Sthita Prajna, you will not be perturbed by somebody criticizing you or somebody is giving you dukkha, and you will not also be completely elevated if you get a great achievement or you get sukha. You will not be elevated. So that's why when you have that sort of a state of mind, that is called as the Sthita Prajna. Once you have that, you will not be perturbed. You will always be happy.
Sir, my question was related to this Sthita Prajna.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the small steps we can do while going towards the Sthita Prajna?
Yes. The first thing to do is get out of swartha. Don't just think of only yourself. That is the first thing to do. Okay. You think what is good for your neighbor in the true sense, not with an expectation. You don't do good things for the other, expecting that, okay, he will do good for you. No, you must do it as a duty. You do it as your kartavya, that, okay, I want to do something good for somebody near me. Whether he hates me or not, loves me, I still want to do good for him. That is the first step. Once you do that, then you actually achieve a certain kind of a confidence in yourself, develop a state of mind that you will not be perturbed by anybody else. Okay, so therefore, the situations will not dictate you, situations will not deter you. You will always be peaceful because you have done it as a duty, regardless of what that person wants to do to you. So you will always be happy that is how you want to go to Siddha Prajna. That's why it's called jealousy. You have to avoid. You should not say, okay, I will tell you a story. That okay, well, story is not a time to tell. I think that will take too much time. That is jealousy you should avoid. If you want to grow bigger, but don't try to pull down somebody else. You have to grow out of your own strength. So that is self-reliance. I talked to you about the self-reliance, self-confidence. You should grow by your own strength, not by pulling down somebody else. Okay, that is jealousy. And then you should be calm always. Anger you should control. Anger you should control because if you become angry, then you lose a sense of thinking. Intellect will be lost. Once the intellect will be lost, you can't take a right decision, and that will go to destruction. Therefore, you have to control your anger. Be peaceful. So if often I say that if you become angry, start counting in the reverse manner 10 to 1 or 100 to 1. Be peaceful. Don't act immediately at that point in time. Take your time and come back to it later. So these are the steps which one has to follow. These are all things one has to evolve, but the principles are very well delineated here. What are the things we should avoid, how to reach there. So, and you know what your enemies are. So how to reach there, you have to practice. So Krishna says to Arjuna, Abhyasayana to Kaunteya, these are very difficult to achieve, but you should practice. Every day morning, you tell yourself, I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to be disturbed by somebody else's wrong actions. Okay, he has done the wrong actions because of his karma. He had this karma and therefore he did that wrong action. Well, that is for him and I will not be perturbed by that. If it hurts you, okay, you take your steps to correct that. Okay, so that is it. But don't take a revengeful kind of an action that which will disturb both of you, not only you and that person as well. It hurts you more. That's why, so that sort of a steps one has to take. The principles are defined here and how you do it is what you will have to think. And that's why every day, morning and evening, you just think about these things, then you can get control over those. That's the self-control, control over the indriyas. Control over the indriyas you should have, sense organs and the manas. Manas is the most dangerous thing. So you should control your mind and that is how you can achieve peace.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
The next question is from Sarachand Sahu.
Huh.
He asked that how can it be applied to remove corruption from our society and for progress in science?
Yes. That is a very relevant. Yeah, that is a good question. It is why only corruption in science. It is corruption everywhere. You want to remove corruption from everywhere. So that is once again, it is the same principle. You don't try to correct somebody else. Okay, that is what I call as self-management. Don't try to correct somebody else. Correct yourself. If everybody corrects himself, he says to himself that, okay, I'm not going to be corrupt. No matter what you are, I'm not going to be corrupt. If everybody does that, corruption will automatically go. So therefore, you do not direct somebody, but you control yourself. That's what is self-control. If you control yourself, automatically you achieve success. You may immediately, the other person may not immediately follow, but soon they will follow. So this is the way to achieve success. This is the way to achieve all the controls. So you have to be first controlling yourself. That is the self-management. That's why it is self-management. Self-management is crucial for every development, for every peace of mind.
Thank you, sir. So there are two questions, one from Meera and one from Manoj Kumar Patel. The question is, why miseries comes to us in spite of doing good karma? And do I need teacher to master selfless service?
No, this is what I told you earlier. No, this is called the prarabdha karma. This comes from because of your previous karmas, previous janma karma. I said, no, you reap the harvest of the karmas of the various generations. It is not only from one particular, you may be doing good karma now, sign in this one, but that will you reap the harvest of that in the next janma. Because the janma, cycle of janma and birth and death keeps going. So it will accumulate. and therefore your karmas in this particular generation are dictated by the previous birth's karmas, and you do the actions according to that. You do get certain benefits out of that, but sometimes you also get wrong things because you'll have to suffer. There is a prarabdha karma is there, so you'll have to suffer because of that. And that is what you think is, I'm doing good things, why I'm suffering. This suffering is because of the prarabdha karma, which is coming from the previous birth.
Yeah. So a question is, how do we choose a good teacher for the yoga and the spiritual life?
Yes, yeah. The choice of a good teacher is not easy to find. Okay, first of all, you'll have to see the principles of what these messages are in this. Okay. Now you'll have to examine whether the teacher is actually following those principles or not. That is why I said, Yadyadacharite sreshtaha tattadeva itaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanu vartate. So whatever the person performs, you will follow when you are taking a teacher, right? So therefore, you'll have to see whether the particular teacher is following this. You understand these principles first, and you see if your teacher is following. There is a lot more to learn. There are some general concepts which were given here. There is a lot more to learn. But if the teacher is not following these principles, then you cannot achieve it. For example, I can tell you a story here, a small story I can tell you. One particular person went to a guru and said, okay, he complained that my son is eating a lot of sugar. I'm telling him to stop, but he's not stopping. Okay. So then the teacher said, okay, give me some 2 days. I will come back and tell you. So afterwards, after 2 days, he came back and told that person, well, boy, it is not a good thing to eat sugar too much. So then this person asked, why did you tell this? Why did you not tell this 2 days ago? He said, at that time, I was also eating sugar. So therefore, the person has to lead by example. Only then it will have an impact. So that is how you have to see who is a good teacher. So far as the philosophy is concerned, all these great teachers, I have mentioned some of those to you. There are people who are actually following these principles. They will also be good teachers.
Yes, sir. So another question is whether the karma is a punya sanchayana, whether it is selfish or it is selfless. Should we always give and never ask, or can we also ask from others?
No. So you have to do your karma as your kartavya, as your duty. If you do a karma with an expectation, then it is papa. That is selfish. You have to do your duty in a selfless manner. What it means, you don't expect. You do it as your duty, as your kartavya. Okay? And then it is punya. But if you do with expectation, then it is a deal. It's a business. That can never be punya. If you are doing a donation, you are giving somebody some gift. I mean, often it happens that, okay, you go and give a gift to somebody, expecting that, okay, he will give a similar gift to you later. That is not the way to do. That is not punya. That is actually a deal. That is business deal. That cannot be punya. That's only papa. In such things only you get miseries.
Yes, sir. So one question is from Anjali: how to clear self-doubt from one's mind?
Abhyasena to kaunteya. Abhyas. You have to keep reading this again and again and again, and then you will find a solution yourself. So there is internal meditation, internal thinking. That is, when you look at these principles again and again, and you ponder over yourself, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the thing which I should be doing? When you do this pondering, that is a meditation. When you do that meditation, then you will figure out whether you're doing the right thing or not. Then you will also figure out, you also remove your doubts as a consequence of that.
Okay. One question from Vaishali Kulkarni is here.
Yeah.
Can you explain the clone with reference to Indian philosophy? Is there an example in our ancient India?
Clone.
Yeah.
What is a clone? Clone of Indian philosophy meaning what?
Clone of Dolly, like Dolly was
Oh,
clone.
Dolly.
Clone.
Clone of Dolly. Oh, well, I mean, this is something, of course, in Indian philosophy, there are so many things, but let us not go into those things. Those are subjects which are, which can be debated a lot. I think let us not go into that. Various
sir.
kinds of things are there in various Puranas. All of such things are there. If you look at the Puranas, various kinds of creations are there. And to be able to appreciate that, it requires an enormous level of knowledge and faith. Okay. And immediately it is not possible to get that sort of a faith in any person who is thinking for the first time. Now, this has to be achieved by experience of faith from the gurus and from what they teach, how they perform. And that is a long drawn process. I think we will not go into that now.
Okay, so the last question we'll take for the session.
Yeah.
In Bhagavad Gita, it is said out of all yoga bhakti, yoga is perfect. Yoga
Yes.
sarva dharman patyayam mam
Yeah.
ekam saran vraj.
Yeah.
How do I practice it?
Yeah, so as I said, this comes, you practice it. Yeah, that's why every day morning you have to think about this. This is Shravana, Manana, Kirtana. These are the ritual of first, understand it, then you have to hear, then Manana, you have to think about it, and then you have to do practice it by doing the karma and then of course telling the others. When you tell the others, of course, you will learn it better. So therefore, these are the 3 steps which are there. So you have to read it carefully, you have to understand the principles, and then ask yourself whether you are actually doing this properly or not. So that is how you achieve. This is called as abhyasa. From abhyasa, you will learn this. So actually, Arjuna also asked the same thing. Why does somebody do a wrong karma? I mean, how do I control all of these things? Then Krishna says to him that abhyasa yanato kaunteya is indeed they are very difficult, but you have to keep practicing.
Right. Thank you very much for that answer. Before we end today's session, there are a few words from Neeraj sir, Neeraj Kumbhakarna, who is a professor at IIT Bombay, and he is the faculty mentor, the guide for Yogastha. So I'll hand over the mic to Neeraj sir.
Okay.
Namaste. So thank you, Professor Hosur, for the enlightening talk and also putting some of the students' doubts to rest.
Yeah.
I will just briefly just touch upon one point. So what happens often these days is when you get into discussion with people. So when I get into discussion with friends and colleagues about yoga or spirituality and all.
Yeah.
So for example, if someone says, okay, I have these problems, I am not able to sleep properly and there is pain in my back. So someone will say, okay, you please go to a yoga teacher, learn some yoga, you will be able to do this. Someone will say, so the other person will say, okay, yeah, you can do that, but don't let go of modern science also. Please see a physical therapist, please go to a good doctor and then, follow their advice. So what happens is we are still not there yet. We are living in a dichotomy. So you say, okay, there is a very hard boundary and this is spirituality, this is yoga, and that is modern science. So modern science can do this, yoga can do that. But I personally think no, that kind of a thinking will not take us very far. We have to think very integrally.
Yes.
Yoga is also a science. It's not
indeed.
Modern science is different, yoga is different. And someone like you coming and addressing a group of students and addressing us, someone who is a very accomplished scientist, who has accomplished a lot in scientific research, and at the same time who is blending this into yoga and spirituality. So I just want to highlight that we need to change our thinking and move into a paradigm where we don't demarcate these two. We think very integrally. So a person who is a good scientist will be a good yogi. A person who is a good yogi will be a good scientist.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I completely agree with you.
Yeah,
there is no difference. You need to practice yoga even as a good scientist. You are a technologist or whatever, lawyer or whatever you are, whatever profession you are. The two things have not to be separated. They are not separable. They have to go together. They have to go together.
Yeah. But
so that is the way we can get peace. That's the way you can be successful.
Right. So, but yeah, and so this is the thinking that especially in today's pandemic times also, okay, what is a good way to deal with things? Is it modern science? Is it drugs? Is it yoga? Is it Ayurveda? So you are always, drawing a very hard boundary and then going this way or that way. So I think that integration needs to come about.
Is very much required. Yoga doesn't say that you don't do modern science. You can do modern science.
Yes.
You do very well do modern science. Yes. But adhere to the principles of self-control, self-management. You do your modern science. Absolutely no problem with that. In fact, I have experienced that all through my life. I have done all my science. at the same time, this passion of mine has actually helped me in taking right kind of decisions at the right time. You will go through various kinds of stressful situations during your life. At the same time, if you collapse because of those, you can't achieve things. So you have to be able to take these principles along while you are doing your profession. That is, modern science is your profession. You have to do it. There is absolutely no question. You can do that. That is your kartavya, so to say.
Yeah, so definitely. So someone like you who's an accomplished scientist speaking about these things definitely reinforces this point. So thank you very much for the enlightening talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you
and
very
thanks
much.
to the Yogastha students for taking the efforts and putting this all together. And thank you to all the audience for turning out in such large numbers. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure for me to talk to the community. And I thought it is my part of the duty to communicate what are the benefits of doing this so that they all become peaceful. As a duty performing, I try to do this. And of course, there is only a little that can be done. There's so much more one can learn, and there is so much more to do. And surely, as the platform is set, I think people can take it forward in their own way and be peaceful all the time. There is Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you. Yeah, Anish.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Neeraj sir, for that message. And thank you, Professor Ramakrishna Hosur, for coming here, for spending time with us. We've all enjoyed this session. It felt like a friendly chat. It felt really inclusive, and we all loved it. I'm sure we all loved it. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Neeraj sir, for your guidance. Thank you to the core team members and the managers of Yogastha who were able to do this, able to conduct this event. And thank you to the director of the institute, Professor Subhashish Chaudhary, who continues in his guidance to all of us. And finally, thank you every single person for attending. We really, really hope that you have enjoyed the session, have found it insightful. Maybe there's now a smile on your face, and you will definitely take these teachings to heart and go home with an elevated understanding, some more wisdom, and some more insights. So thank you all very much, and have a nice day. And if you want to know anything more about Yogastha, we can always contact us at yogastha.iitb@gmail.com or visit our Facebook page or Instagram page. So thank you very much, and we will end the session here.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And one more thing, I'm extremely sorry for not mentioning this, but thanks to Professor Ashutosh Kumar, who is the one who actually proposed the session for all of us. And it's through his initiative that we could all come here together and combine this into a nice session. So thank you, Professor Ashutosh Kumar, as well.
Welcome, Anish.
Okay. Shall we close?
Yeah, sure. I'll end the meeting.